On May 3rd, 1999, the people of Oklahoma City faced the worst F5 in modern history.
The May 3rd, 1999 tornado that went through Moore in southern Oklahoma City was one of the most damaging in the history of the United States, no matter how we look at the data.
Late in the afternoon of May 3rd, 1999, weather forecasters in Oklahoma carefully track multiple supercell storms and then the tornado reports that begin flooding in. At home with her 8-year-old son, Dana Grimm watches the local news.
We had been watching the coverage for hours. He said it just kept building momentum, getting bigger and bigger, and if you were above ground, you weren't going to make it.
The storm system is intense, complicated, and growing. Weather trackers watch in awe and shock as multiple storms produce multiple tornadoes.
Large tornado, very large tornado.
It seemed like just about every thunderstorm cloud that formed eventually produced a tornado at some point.
And there were times when you had the main tornado happening, and then we had what we call satellite tornadoes that would rotate around it. And they're completely separate tornadoes within the same storm system.
At about 6:25 p.m., a large tornado touches down just outside Amber, Oklahoma. Doppler radar records its wind speed at 512 kilometers per hour, the fastest twister ever documented. This is a monster, and it's hurtling towards Dana Grimm's home.
And they had said that it was a mile wide and just ferocious, and it was just destroying everything in its path.
With a giant wall of howling wind just 1.6 kilometers away, Dana and her son hide in a closet.
I remember my son, he was screaming and crying. He said, "Are we going to be okay?" I said, "We're going to be fine." He said, "What do we do?" And I said, "We pray."
Dana's fear turns to panic when she hears the tornado strike.
There was kind of a high-pitched squeal to it. And then, of course, the sound of everything, the windows just blowing out. The house was shaking. We could hear the beams in the roof breaking. The walls just lifted up, and we could feel really cold air rushing underneath. And within seconds of that, the house just blew up. And I couldn't breathe. I had sucked in so much dirt that I couldn't even breathe anymore. I thought, this is it. And I remember just praying that, God, if this is it, I'm ready.
On the brink of death, the fierce tornado spares Dana's life by lifting her out of the suffocating dirt. When it slams her back to the ground, she's paralyzed with fear.
And I realized then that I didn't have my son. So I started screaming for him, and he came running over, and it was just a miracle of God because we were both barefoot. He came running over to me, did not have one puncture wound on his feet.
The F5 continues towards the center of Oklahoma City, crossing major highways filled with rush hour traffic. As the tornado hurtles towards them, some people panic. They abandon their cars in a desperate attempt to find shelter. For a few, that decision has fatal consequences. 3 people seeking refuge under freeway overpasses are killed by debris and the sheer force of the wind. Stranded cars block escape routes for many others.
Shields Boulevard in Oklahoma City essentially became a huge parking lot, and it blocked people from being able to escape the tornado.
By the time the F5 dissipates, 40 people are dead and nearly 700 injured.
My wife worked in the hospital in Norman that night, and she worked in the emergency room, and they were swamped, of course. She saw some really horrific injuries. People came in covered with splinters of wood, looked like pincushions from so much wood. Awful things.
Many survivors suffer multiple painful wounds from being impaled by debris. Cheryl Brown studied the injuries and deaths in Oklahoma.
There were also injuries that were related to debris being embedded inside the body, all the way from small splinters to very large objects such as 2x4s.
Many survivors suffered debris-related injuries because the tornado destroyed so many homes, spewing countless shards of wood and other material into the air. The Oklahoma twister leveled nearly 3,000 houses and structures.
3, 2, 1, fire!
73 miles an hour.
Schiff and his team at Clemson University fire 2x4s at more than 160 kilometers per hour into a variety of structures to represent the damage done during a tornado.
I think that the public understands that tornadoes are very dangerous. What they don't understand is that in typical construction, they have very little protection against those types of events.
When debris strikes a home, it does far more damage than simply making a hole in a wall or window.
Fire!
It gives the tornado a point of entry. Once inside, inflowing air can rip apart walls and tear off the roof. The home then becomes part of the tornado's arsenal, further fueling the funnel with debris and making it even more destructive.
This type of construction is very typical for residential, brick veneer in front of a wood frame wall.
Fire!
The missile's gone all the way through the wall cavity. Most people that have this type of house would be vulnerable to an F5 tornado.
Fire!
Schiff's experiments determined that for a home to withstand the deadly onslaught of debris, the brick veneer must have an 8-centimeter thick backing of concrete.
So this wall here would be suitable for a shelter to resist tornadoes.
Most homes in Oklahoma City were brick veneer with wood frames. This common construction, coupled with the sheer number of homes in the tornado's path, increased the debris field exponentially. Dana Grimm survived with a broken back, her son with a puncture wound to his chest.
I truly believe that the reason that I was thrown twice, if I had not been picked back up and thrown again, I would have suffocated because I could not breathe in anymore.
10 supercell storms spawned 70 tornadoes that spring day, including the F5 that cut a 24-kilometer path over interstate highways and devastated several suburbs of Oklahoma City.
It was sad. I think there were 14 in our own housing addition that died. And it's a miracle of God that we didn't.
The Oklahoma tornado caused more than $1 billion in damage, the costliest tornado in U.S. history.
Complete and total devastation. The homes that you see over here now were completely gone. It was a rubble pile. If you had been in the open, it would not have been a very pleasant place to be.
Things would have been much worse if the tornado had veered just 16 kilometers to the west, striking the heart of downtown Oklahoma City. Even so, the Moore, Oklahoma tornado and its companion twisters rank as the most deadly and destructive outbreak in modern history. They would be far surpassed by an F5 striking a major American city. That would be a mega disaster, one experts warn could happen. Every year, major U.S. cities in Tornado Alley play a game of Russian roulette with massive twisters that wreak havoc there. In 1999, Oklahoma City lost the game when a giant tornado killed 40 people, injured nearly 700, and racked up costs of more than $1 billion. Only sheer luck kept the tornado from striking downtown. Researcher Scott Ray knows the next major city to be struck by an F5 may not be so fortunate.
Dallas is overdue for a large, violent class tornado.
Dallas, Texas is a boomtown sprawled along the southern boundary of Tornado Alley. It's one of the largest and fastest growing metro areas in the U.S. with more than 5 million residents and 600 corporate headquarters. Dallas is 10 times larger than Oklahoma City.
I was shocked a bit when I saw some of the aerial footage of Oklahoma City. The amount of damage that had occurred in that was pretty amazing.
Ray assists local governments with planning for hazards, especially threats from tornadoes. To help Dallas prepare for a possible mega disaster, he has modeled over 60 different scenarios of how the Dallas region would be affected by a violent tornado.
For reasons of credibility, it was very important that we look at an event that actually had occurred somewhere else. So we took the event in Oklahoma City basically because the data was very good for that particular event, and we could transpose it by just moving those same geographical characteristics of the tornado on top of the geography of Dallas-Fort Worth. So we got to see it kind of from our own perspective.
Ray and his team painstakingly overlaid the exact path taken by the Oklahoma tornadoes over the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A mega disaster unfolds when Oklahoma's F5 tornado rampages through downtown Dallas.
It would easily be the worst damaging tornado event that we have had to date in the U.S.